Seawalls are a very common feature around the coastlines of the world. You see them absolutely everywhere, and they range from massive concrete structures to geotextile bags and everything in between. On the Gold Coast we have a seawall, and I don't think a lot of people realise this, that it's called the A-line, and it runs the full length of the Gold Coast, but you can't see it anywhere because it's buried, and it's there in a sense as a last line of defence against major erosion.
In the 1920s, people were very concerned about the Nerang River breaking through again at Narrow Neck, and so there were some timber groins built early on and then some boulders placed there. There's photographic evidence that when the Kirra Surf Pavilion was built just before it was opened in 1936, there was a major weather event and waves broke over the top of it, and they were concerned about losing that, so they built a boulder wall in front there. When we built the boulder wall post the 67 cyclones at Greenmount, we found an old log wall, built of tea tree logs along there that somebody had built, Lord knows when.
A lot of people have trouble understanding that, especially that didn't experience those early cyclones. Like down here in Greenmount, there's what they call a COG wall. It was designed by the Coordinator General's Department, which we put in 68 after the 67 cyclone. And I was on that from Surface, Main Beach, Broad Beach, Miami. Main Beach, you could fish off the wall there in front of what was called the old Sans Souci. It was a private hospital on the northern end of Main Beach. And you'd speak to people now, they just don't understand that there was no sand there, it was just water.
After that series of storms, the Gold Coast could not stand another year of that sort of weather. The decision was made to build boulder walls in those places of public infrastructure necessity, and about 3 kilometres of them were done.
The Gold Coast Boulder Wall is a standard. It was developed as what survived 72. There was a design for a boulder wall in 67. Some of those walls failed in 72. The surveyors went out and measured what survived. That became the new benchmark.
The A-line was exposed all the way along the southern end of the Gold Coast when we get the major storms between 1972 and 74. And clearly was the major factor in that erosion not being worse and further property damage. More recently, with some of the storms we've had in the 90s and the 2000s, certain parts on the Gold Coast, again, the wall has been exposed and has played a role in preventing further erosion and property damage.
So what we did was, if you want to build on the beachfront, you have to have a boulder wall, and people will argue and say why. It's to protect their property and also to protect lives of the SES and Gold Coast workers who don't have to be out there protecting property and the esplanades.
So the strategy on the Gold Coast is we have our reference point, which is the A-line. It's our last line of defence, and in front of that we keep a beach as wide as we possibly can by beach nourishment. The storm comes, the beach erodes, we have that seawall there to prevent the property damage behind it, and it's part of more of an integrated approach to coastal management.
We're really in a wonderful position now at the Gold Coast in that we've got beaches, we've got dunes, and if anything really happened that we can't foresee, most areas have got the boulder wall as the fallback, so you're not going to lose the property.
I mean, while we don't ever want to see them, we want to make sure that they're an unsea wall. We want to make sure that when we do get the huge event that they protect our infrastructure, and we don't want to lose esplanades again.